Hi, English 10 students. So we have just kind of gotten done learning about time in Elizabethan England and learning a little bit about William Shakespeare, but what a lot of people don't know is that, before William Shakespeare was a playwright, he actually wrote a series of hundreds of sonnets. So what we are going to kind of do to kind of get introduced to Shakespearean writing is analyze his sonnets, which are poems, which you'll know or learn about in a little bit. But I want to analyze and kind of learn how to read and understand his poems before we get into reading an entire play written by William Shakespeare. So first of all, I think what you're all probably wondering, Mr. Thomas, is what is a sonnet? A sonnet is simply just a 14-line poem that is written in iambic pentameter. Okay, now you may be a little bit confused right now. Iambic what? Iambic pentameter. Okay, yes, this does have to do with William Shakespeare and his language and how he wrote. Okay, so iambic pentameter is a poetic form which poets and playwrights, for example William Shakespeare, typically used to write poems during this Elizabethan England time period. Okay, iambic pentameter is specifically, it's the meter that Shakespeare mostly uses. Okay, now meter in poetry is a rhythm of accented and unaccented syllables arranged into feet. Now you may still be a little bit unsure about that. Hopefully my next slide of showing that it's like a heartbeat will help you when reading. But for now, I want us to look down at the bottom where we kind of define the term an iamb. Okay, an iamb has the first syllable unaccented and the second syllable accented. Okay, and then that unaccented and accented syllable, when they go together, that's called a foot. Okay, so if you notice, you will have 5 feet in one line, which will be 10 syllables. So this reads, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, unaccented followed by accented. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, and a really easy way to do this if you're thinking about a heartbeat is to clap your hands with it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, now syllables. I kind of maybe just got a little bit ahead of myself there with that previous slide, but I think we all know what a syllable is. A syllable is a unit. It's a unit of sound. Okay, it's either stressed or unstressed. Okay, so if we read this line right here, this quotation, I want us to think about how many syllables are there in that. So read that on your own and determine how many syllables there are. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. If you read that correctly in iambic pentameter, you'll notice that there are 10 syllables. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of lines like this when reading and analyzing Shakespearean sonnets and Shakespearean plays. Okay, a meter. A meter in poetry is a rhythm of accented and unaccented syllables arranged into feet. Now we looked at the line 2 slides ago about what a foot is in poetry, but I just want to stress that this is iambic pentameter. So if you look in the chart below, pentameter, that means that there are 5 feet. You know, some poems might be written in tetrameter, which would use 4 feet, which would be 8 syllables. Some would be octameter, which would be 8 feet, which would be 16 syllables. So just knowing that each foot has 2 syllables, and when we're in pentameter for the meter, that would be 5 feet, which if there's 2 syllables per feet, that would be 10 syllables. Okay, so again, maybe got a little bit ahead of myself, but an iamb is didum, like a heartbeat, and penta is for the Greek word 5, and meter is the pattern. So in pentameter, there are 5 iambs per line of poetry, meaning that there are 10 syllables. Okay, so for the sound of iambic pentameter, like I said, we're going to think of a heartbeat. Accented or excuse me, unaccented followed by accented. De-dum, 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 de-dum. Okay, it consists of a line of 5 iambic feet, which would be 10 syllables, with 5 unstressed and 5 stressed. Okay, and that's how a lot of, or all of Shakespeare's sonnets are written, and a lot of the lines, especially the more influential lines in his plays, are written. Okay, so an example of iambic pentameter from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet is from the famous balcony scene. But soft what light through yonder window breaks. Okay, that is 10 syllables, 5 feet, 2 syllables per foot. Okay, when you put it all together, it's 10 syllables, and it follows iambic pentameter. All right, so this hopefully will help kind of bring everything together and for you to see, all those terms that we just went over. So if you look, one iamb is essentially unstressed followed by stressed, which is in 1 foot. Okay, iambic pentameter, pentameter meaning that there are 5 feet, because penta means 5, and meter is like the rhythm that's used. So if you read this line, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? All right, that is the sonnet that we are going to analyze here. Before we get into analyzing these Shakespearean sonnets, I want you to first know the rhyming pattern of Shakespearean sonnet. Okay, now a Shakespearean sonnet has 3 quatrains followed by a couplet. All right, the rhyme scheme of it is A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, and then G G. Okay, so a quatrain is 4 lines of rhymed verse, and a couplet is 2 lines of rhymed verse. So a Shakespearean sonnet has 14 lines total. A sonnet has 14 lines total. Shakespearean sonnets, and the way to know that they are Shakespearean sonnets is when the rhyme scheme follows like this. So in the first quatrain, the first 4 lines, the rhyme scheme will be A, B, A, B. In the second quatrain, lines 5 through 8 will be C, D, C, D. In the third quatrain, lines 9 through 12 will be E, F, E, F. And then in the couplet, the rhyme scheme will just be 2 lines, because a couplet is 2 lines, and it'll be G, G. So if we look at this Shakespearean sonnet of Sonnet 16, here you will be able to see the rhyme scheme in place. So if you just pay attention to the last words of each line, you'll see that they follow the correct rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and then G, G. Now you may be looking at this, and as you read through it, notice that words like in the first quatrain of love and remove don't necessarily rhyme, love and remove, but the way Shakespeare would do this, he would bend the words a little bit, and that would alter the way that they are pronounced. So in the second line, it would be pronounced love, and then in the fourth line, it would be remove. Okay, but we know that it means remove or to take away. Okay, now this slide is going to be important to pay attention to when it actually comes to analyzing sonnets and what they mean. Okay, all of Shakespeare's sonnets are also an argument. Okay, they build up a certain way. Okay, and how it builds up is related to the metaphors and how it moves from one metaphor to the next. Okay, so in a Shakespearean sonnet, the argument will build up as followed. Okay, the first quatrain, or the first 4 lines, will be a summary or an introduction to the main theme or metaphor. In the second quatrain, or lines 5 through 8, the theme and metaphor will be extended or complicated, and oftentimes some imaginative example is given. In the third quatrain, there will be a peripetuia, okay, peripetia, okay, and that is a twist or conflict. And that's often introduced with the word but. Oftentimes in the third quatrain, the first word of the ninth line will be the word but. And then in the couplet, it summarizes and leaves the reader with this new concluding image. It kind of solves the problem, if you will. So what we're going to do for the remaining couple of slides is we're going to actually analyze a Shakespearean sonnet quatrain by quatrain. So of this sonnet 18, it's called Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. It's obvious, or it's arguably William Shakespeare's most famously known sonnet. Okay, so in the first quatrain, we have this exposition or summary of the main theme or the main metaphor. So if we read these lines with the correct iambic pentameter, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Okay, that follows the correct 10 syllables per line. And all that's basically saying is he's asking, shall I compare you to a summer day? He's saying in the second line, you are more lovelier and more temperate, or like you're more mild, you're more kind of relaxed. And here in the lines 3 and 4, he's basically just saying that there are rough winds in summer that shake the buds of May, like flowers of May, and that summer is too short. So in this first quatrain, he's establishing that theme or the metaphor of comparing this person, to summer, aka a summer's day. He's comparing this person that he is writing about to a summer day and saying that this person is more lovely and more mild than a summer day. In the second quatrain, this metaphor is going to be extended. Okay, he's going to extend and say, sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Okay, and basically right here what he is saying is that sometimes the sun shines too hot. Okay, sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines. That's basically what he's saying. In the summertime, sometimes it's too hot, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. He's basically saying that sometimes the sunlight is dimmed by clouds. Okay, and in lines 7 and 8, he's basically just saying, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. He's basically saying, and every fair from fair sometimes declines. That's basically saying that, beauty declines with age. And then this last line, by chance or nature's changing course, he's just saying that, through nature, through time, beauty declines. In the third quatrain, where the twist or conflict is often introduced with the word but, you'll notice that the line number 9 here starts with the word but. It's called the peripetia. Here he's basically saying, but thy eternal shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growst. He's basically saying, but your eternal summer will never fade. He's basically saying inside you will stay the same person, whereas on the outside your physical appearance will lose. It will fade. It will change. It will become uglier, if you will. So that's basically where he's just introducing this twist and conflict, saying that yes, your physical beauty will change, but your internal beauty will not. And then lastly, in the couplet, it summarizes and leaves the reader with a new concluding image. So in this couplet, he's saying, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. He's basically saying that as long as men are alive and have eyes, this poem will keep you alive. So basically what he's saying, you will eventually die, and people will forget your beauty, but this poem will essentially eternalize and keep you alive for eternity.